we've kicked off the webinar. It's also going live on Facebook. It's being live streamed. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. I can see we have participants who are joining as we kick off in terms of attendees. So I'll just give them a minute. But before we do, for those who are just joining, I would like to quickly welcome the people who are here, our guests for this webinar. I'd like to start with Matthew Hasker. He's the Global Web Director for GetSafe Online. Matthew, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Diana. It's lovely to be here and lovely to meet you all.
Great. Also joining us, we have with us from TransUnion, Rwanda, we have the CEO, Mr. Samuel Tayangwa. A warm welcome to you, Samuel.
Good morning, Diana, and good morning to all the viewers.
Great. We also have joining us Ghislaine Kayigi, who is the Chief Cybersecurity Standards Officer from the National Cybersecurity Authority. Ghislaine, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Diana, and good morning, everyone.
Great. We're also supposed to be joined by Sadra Irasuliza, who is a GetSafe Online Rwanda Digital Ambassador, but unfortunately he's not here. But hopefully he'll be joining us due to his technical difficulties a bit later. So to the guests who are coming in, I'd like to thank you. I know it's a Friday, it's the festive season. It's early in the morning, different places of the world, but we're going to have our attendees coming in as we go on. And just to let you know, we will have questions being asked to our panelists later on. But just really as an introductory welcome, my name is Diana Mpisi, CEO of Blue Oceans. And on behalf of GetSafe Online Rwanda, we are hosting this webinar just to focus on the threats on online safety in the form of malware such as ransomware and phishing. And these are very, very common threats online in terms of cybersecurity, especially in Rwanda. Rwanda is no exception, especially with phishing. And just if you'll allow me to give a few definitions. So we know ransomware, it's a form of malicious and dangerous software used by criminals, whereby they more or less hold you hostage when they hack into your device and lock the files from a remote location and ask you to pay a certain sum of money before they can unlock your device. And most times people will pay this money and they won't even sometimes get access to their gadgets. So we're here to talk about what to do in the event this happens, the impact of what this is in countries across the world, as well as Rwanda. Phishing is also a type of malware, and it's basically a fraudulent practice of sending emails to people or other messages, even SMSs. They claim to be from reputable companies, but really they trick individuals into giving in their data, into giving in their personal information, such as passwords or credit card numbers, or even just by clicking on a link that's not safe. So really, these are the two cybersecurity threats that really have an impact on users' online safety across the globe. And we're here with our experts to listen to them and to have them tell us how we can protect ourselves better when it comes to ransomware and phishing. So my first question is to you, Matthew, on behalf of GetSafe Online. GetSafe Online is an initiative based out of the United Kingdom, but it's based as well in different countries across the globe, as well as in Rwanda. And it really is a platform that gives factual, practical, unbiased advice when it comes to online safety. And it was established in 2005 in Rwanda. It partnered with the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, with the Rwanda Information Society Authority, to share information to Rwandans on online safety since 2020. So Matthew, that's just an introduction on the partnership between GetSafe Online UK and GetSafe Online Rwanda. If you could just tell us from your experience, GetSafe Online working in over 20 countries across the globe, what are some of the most common cyber attacks in the countries that you work with, especially with regards to phishing and ransomware, and what advice do you have for people on how they can, and companies on how they can best protect themselves?
Yeah, certainly, Diana. First of all, thank you very much for organising and hosting, and thank you to the panelists for joining as well. I think it's really crucial that we keep talking about these subjects in order to help people understand what the risks are and, of course, how we can protect ourselves. So thank you, everybody, for all your efforts and work. It's really valuable. So common ways of attack. So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, what are cyber criminals looking for? What's their motivation? And the motivation is money and accessing personal data. Data is really, really valuable in the modern world, and where a lot of the work that we do nowadays is online, a lot of systems are cloud-based. So accessing user and personal data is easier than it ever has been, but there are mechanisms and ways that we can protect ourselves to make sure that cyber criminals don't get access to those. But how do they get to that? So malware is still common. Malware is installed on a machine. It can perform malicious activity on a user's hard drive and access personal data on a hard drive. Ransomware is an offshoot of that. If you've got ransomware installed in your machine, it can lock files, as you alluded to earlier, Diana. It locks files, and then it asks for money for the decryption key, and then you can get back access to your files. Well, you may not get access to your files. That's one of the big risks of ransomware. But how do they actually get that malware and ransomware onto a machine? So attacks are getting a lot more sophisticated. Certainly in these last 12 months or in recent times, where we see the presence of AI, generative AI, cyber criminals are using that to increase the rate of attacks, but also make those attacks a lot more sophisticated. You mentioned earlier phishing. Phishing is still really, really prevalent, and where they're getting more sophisticated, it's becoming more and more of an issue. Now, phishing, what's phishing? So let's say, for example, you've got an email that comes through and it says that you're from the bank, or you're from a building society, or you're from Facebook, anything like that. If it's pretending to be from a legitimate source and it's asking you to take action. So, and normally the action is quite urgent. It'll be, you must do this within 24 hours or otherwise we're going to lock an account, or you're about to lose some financial gain that you've never even heard of. You must take action now. So there's always an element of urgency about it, and oh, well, I must do that. And if you read that, there should be some alarm bells thinking, well, actually, would a bank be contacting me to do that? Why is it so urgent? You'll find that if you click on a link, it'll more than likely end up on a fake website. The fake website will ask the user to log in, but you're not actually logging into something. All you're doing there is handing over personal data to the malicious user, or it could just be trying to install malware, ransomware, and that's when we start seeing issues. So phishing is really, really still a very popular method of attack. Social media as well. We've seen cases of people acting on stuff that's posted on the popular social media sites. An example there is on Twitter, where there's been fake videos of Elon Musk selling cryptocurrency. Click here to get your piece of the action. So again, there's urgency, there's fear of missing out, and then that's encouraging users to click on links, and then bad stuff happens. So what can we do to protect ourselves against that? Well, there's some simple things that we can do. We can look at making sure that your antivirus software is installed in your machine to protect yourself from malware. Make sure that your antivirus software is up to date. Many devices these days have built-in software. Example is Windows. Windows has Windows Defender, which is actually quite a good piece of antivirus software, but there are other vendors that offer their own. You can make sure that your passwords are nice and strong, so that you're protecting yourself from what's called brute force attacks. If somebody knows your email address, they can use a combination of common passwords like password 123, 123456, which are still being used. We saw a top 10 password list not so long ago, and it's surprising to see the number of users who are still using 123456, password 123. Don't do it. There's password strategy that you can use. A common one is one special character, one number, one capital letter, and at least 2 words. Where there's also advice of using 3 separate words. Use a strong password. That is a really easy way of protecting your user account from malicious activity. A lot of services these days are also offering what's called multi-factor authentication, MFA. So if you are trying to log into into your user account, you can use your mobile phone, which will then tell you, hey, your user account is trying to log in somewhere. Is this you? That's an excellent way of protecting your user account, because what that is doing, that's putting another level of authentication to your user account. So if somebody tries to log in as me and they're located elsewhere, I'll be notified that somebody's trying to log in as me. I know it's not me because I'm not here, or I'm not trying to log in rather. And so I would say deny, and then I'd be changing my password. But really vigilance as well. Does that email look legitimate? Are you expecting that email from whoever the email's pretending to be? I'm not too sure about that. So you would be safe to ignore it. And if it really is urgent, your bank would be phoning you or contacting you in other means. Banks, financial institutions tend not to be emailing you to ask for personal details. That's definitely something you must remember. If you see something like that. In terms of companies and businesses, ransomware is a real risk to business, because I've seen cases. I've worked in IT support in the past, and I've seen cases where ransomware has caused absolute mayhem. If a user's got ransomware, if they've got network drives, that can spread to server data, that can spread across the business. It can cause real issues. What can you do as a business to protect yourself? Education and policies is a good start to make sure that your users are aware of what to look out for in terms of scams, in terms of fake emails, as we've just been talking about phishing. If you have policies in place to say you can only access these sites, or you can only take action on here, email policies, filtering, things like that would certainly help your business. But also backups. Backups is really crucial, certainly when it comes to ransomware, because if you need to recover from a ransomware attack, you've got a backup system. So make sure you've got a backup policy in place. Evaluate your data. What can you live without for a longer period of time? What do you need instantly to make sure that your business keeps on running? Also, things like Microsoft OneDrive. I think a lot of cloud providers provide this as well, that they have their own ransomware mechanisms in place. So if a cloud service provider sees a lot of data being encrypted, a lot of changes being made, it puts a stop to that, and it says, okay, I'm not doing any more syncing. We think you're under attack. And then, so some of the cloud service providers these days are also helping businesses against ransomware, but also to recover from ransomware. So look into those. But certainly education is really key. Make sure that users are aware of what to look out for, what to do and what not to do. Policies to make sure that your businesses knows what to do. But from a user point of view, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, and being aware of what to look out for are really key factors to protect ourselves against this malicious activity. I think you're on mute. Sorry, Diana.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matthew. I'll
No
definitely be coming back to you on some of the things you mentioned, but just
sure.
In that, just to segue to context in Rwanda, you've mentioned globally, the sort of impact and what you can do and advice. Ghislaine, what is the status of ransomware attacks and phishing in Rwanda? I know phishing is quite common. It can be via email, it can be via SMS. We have what we call mobile money in Rwanda, and people give up their data based on fraudulent practices by, in terms of phishing and ransomware. If you could just share with us the local context and what NCSA is doing with partners to counter these threats.
Thank you, Diana. I hope you can hear me. I think Matthew has covered, I think, all the key recommendations that would give on how to prevent or to protect people against falling victim to ransomware and phishing. But for the context in Rwanda, so what we've been doing is to we have the National CERT, or the National Computer Incident Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, which has the main responsibility to come into support to those who may fall victim to these kind of attacks, meaning ransomware or phishing. It can be institutions, it can be individuals themselves. And what we've seen so far is that, especially for phishing, like Diana was mentioning, it may be IT enabled or even for mobile money, but the main message or the main concentration we have now is on educating the person, because most of the time we see that these attacks or these cybersecurity threats, meaning ransomware or phishing, and may be successful because of the person that was manipulated by the malicious actor, the cyber criminal. Because one of the things is that I think Matthew mentioned it at the beginning of his remarks. You always have to think about what's the motivation of that bad actor in sending or sharing these malicious links, or these or calling someone pretending to be someone they are not, calling from pretending to be someone from a trusted institution. And we see that most of the time those attacks or those threats become successful because of how the bad actor was successful in manipulating either the emotions or the habits of an individual. For example, most of the time, the malicious actor, the cyber criminal, one of the targets may be to maybe compromise the reputation of an institution or a public figure, for example, and they may not target IT professionals in that institution. They go for someone else in like another department, like HR or finance or I don't know, administration, because they know that those people in those teams or departments may not really be tech savvy as the rest of the technical teams. So we have put emphasis on putting out educational materials, targeting different people, either IT professionals or non-IT professionals, and you encourage institutions, especially the ones that have critical people's data or financial data, to make sure that they even put in place training programs or awareness programs for their staff, be it new staff coming into the institution or existing staff. Because one thing we will all realize is that technology keeps evolving, and as the cybersecurity experts bring about new protection measures or new security equipments that are very complex, or we're talking about the username and passwords, at some point cyber experts will realize that the criminals will have found a way of guessing people's passwords. So they put up new concepts like multi-factor authentication that Matthew was mentioning. Maybe if multi-factor authentication becomes vulnerable, we'll have other mechanisms of securing people's like authentication, like to confirm that this person who is trying to access this account or this information is who he says or she says they are. I think there have been some other concepts, like security concepts, that will keep coming, but we all have to always remember the users, the everyday users of this technology solutions that companies put out. How do we make sure that as a person, as a young person still at school, or our the elderly people, how do we make sure that they are also able to use the basic security controls in place, but also how do we provide them with, how do we develop cybersecurity educational content that may be more clear for them to grasp what are the risks. So what we've done, one concept is that we reach out to the people where they are. So meaning if they're using any particular social media platform, we develop content that it will be educational, but teach them on what are the most common ways that someone can detect a phishing email or a phishing SMS, or even phishing through chat messaging, or even through calls, even ransomware. How do you make sure that you prevent like someone in your institution or your friend to like use a flash that is not scanned in your computer? What are the major common ways that you can protect yourself, but how also can you detect some of these threats when they come? Like if it's an email, do you first check if it has grammatical errors? Do you check if it has links that may redirect you or send you to another link like the ones Matthew was mentioning? And then another thing we do through different partners, I think GetSafe Online was also producing some content around the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we make sure that during the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is usually October, but I think for this year, we also extended it to some days in November to make sure that we reach out to as many people as possible with relevant messaging that applies to different groups, but also through different media. If it's on the radio for people who don't really use social media, and we make sure we use like the Kinyarwanda for people who may not understand English, and also to make sure that we involve also the different partners, especially the private sector, which are the ones who develop these digital applications, mobile applications, websites. How do we to make sure that we also bring them along to educate the users of the modern or digital applications or tools, how to use them securely. And we also bring along the law enforcement agencies to make sure that they share with us what are the most common ways that the criminals use, so that the citizens know how to prevent those risks to happen again. But also one other thing that I want to mention before I end is that we encourage people to report any suspicious activity that they may see on their phones, on their emails, on their computers, to either the National CSIRT under the National Cybersecurity Authority, or to any other. If it's in an institution, they usually have IT teams or IT security teams, like to make sure that they report it. If, for example, by mistake, you find that you've sent your money to the wrong person who has managed to like manipulate you into sending like some sensitive information or even your financial data, to report it on time, because it will help even either if it's us, NCSA, or any other relevant institution that may properly come into your assistance, to do it as early as possible. Because when you report it late, it may be hard to like bring back your information or your money or anything else that may be of value to you that you may have sent after being misled by a malicious actor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghislaine. That was quite a comprehensive, explanation, especially in Rwanda, how what NCSA working with partners such as Get Safe Online as well is doing to counter it. Samuel, I'll come to you. If you could tell us just a bit of context for our attendees on what TransUnion does, especially in Rwanda. I know you deal a lot with fraudulent practices when it comes to safety in terms of cybersecurity. And if you could share with us some of the work you've done to counter threats such as online phishing, as well as ransomware that we've just been discussing.
Thank you so much, Diana. And thanks to Matthew and Ghislaine for a good intro to, this topic. It's something that I've spent a lot of time, narrating across the continent, especially where we have presence around how our customers can be vigilant, especially during this time of the year. It's very seasonal, right? And as TransUnion, we have quite a lot of role that we play to assist, number one, the institutions that we work with, but more than anything else, the customers on the street, right? Around how to be safe, especially when it comes to information. So TransUnion is a credit reference bureau. We're an information business. We collect information on behalf of all institutions that are regulated in most of the geographies that we operate in. And in Rwanda, we collect information from banks, SACCOs, MFIs, insurance companies, telcos, and we use that information to determine different levels of risk, be it at a credit level, be it at a fraud level, and even at an insurance level, right? So we use that information to start determining patterns. We build predictive models that allows us to draw out patterns that show us some trends, into how, potential threats could be attacking our institutions that we work with. So this is the banks, the telcos that I mentioned, or likewise customers, the users of this information. So information is a critical component or ingredient to what we do. And hearing Matthew and Ghislaine talk about the importance of safeguarding your information, it's our bread and butter. That's what we do. We urge people to actually understand the value that sits in their information. So some of the work that we do, Diana, is to improve, like as was said initially when you started talking about authentication. How do we help banks and institutions to start improving authentication or verification or validation of specific requirements that comes to them, right? And in that way, we're trying to mitigate any potential risk that comes up front, right? And I want to just take a step back and say, the reason why we're now talking about cybercrime being prevalent into this time now is because, when one bad thing happens, one good thing happens. When one good thing happens, one bad thing happens. COVID created a necessity for us to start having this massive demand for online services, right? Because we couldn't access products and services like how we used to. So we had to have some form of digital transformation at the center of our businesses. And because of that, usually when you're interacting in a digital world, you're either interacting with a device or you're interacting with a laptop or whatever the case might be, right? And there's information that is passing through that device. And the institutions that are interacting with that device have very little knowledge of what is sitting behind the device. They don't know who's sitting behind the device. And what we tend to find is most institutions are attacked by virtue of lack of information that they can use to authenticate the device. Earlier on, I was just sharing with Matthew that at TransUnion, we have a solution we call iovation or device risk, where we monitor more than 6 billion devices across the globe for potential fraudulently misuse. Either a device has been used in a fraudulent manner, it's flagged, right? We flag it, we blacklist it, and we share that information with institutions that subscribe to our solutions for use when they see that device coming into their environment, whether it's for a loan application, whatever requirement it is, they can actually stop that process, right? They can actually stop that application going through, and they can even ask that person to come to the branch for further verification and identification. We also interact, or we are integrated to, like in Rwanda, to NIDA, right? NIDA is your national identity database, right? Where we can manage or understand that Sam is Sam. Sam is who Sam is saying. We tend to see a lot of people changing or saying that they've lost their IDs. And when they lose their ID, they go back and get another one, right? And they become a new person in as far as the bank is concerned. But because we've collected a lot of information on that individual, and there's certain data points that don't change, we're able to marry, we're able to continue, creating a true authenticated view of that profile that the institutions can still interact and verify that person. So identity verification solutions are some of the things that we use. And just to bring it home, where we tend to see some issues in the market, Diana, is we tend to come across customers that walk into our offices saying that I can't get a loan at the bank because apparently I own Equity Bank, for instance, or I own BK, for instance, and I don't even know that loan. And I wanted to bring home what Matthew and Ghislaine was saying around the fact that when your information has been misappropriated or misused in the cyber world, it is used to try and take financial gain. It is used to try and open bank accounts. It is used to try and siphon some money from institutions for their benefit, for the threat attackers, for their benefit, for the fraudsters, for their benefit. And the civilians are the ones that suffer, because at the end of the day, they now have to clean that record. As far as the bank is concerned, when that application was done, and if it met all the minimum requirements, they will issue the loan. And I wanted to also take a step further to say, in this world of cyber, or in the world of fraud, the threat actors are quite a lot in that ecosystem. You have, in the institutions, you'll have people sitting there who understands the processes, right? So be it in the banks, you'll still find some people that are motivated by money. Then you'll have the fraudsters themselves, right? And when these work in a syndicate, they can create a true false picture of an application, right? Which impacts the customer. The customer is coming here because of two things, and I'm glad Matthew mentioned it. Desperation. Sometimes, when they play on your emotion, it's festive season, everybody wants money. Hey, there's a chance you can win this campaign. There's a chance you can make money out of this campaign that is running. Sign up. They take that information, they go create a whole new persona on you, and you lose your whole credibility, or you lose your whole money in the process. So we come in to try and help companies and individuals to manage that information gap. We try to help reduce the threats that happens to institutions by giving them extra data points to mitigate and manage that risk. And also to customers, we try to educate them around the protection and safeguarding of the information, that it is not found on the cyber world by mistake. So that's typically how we play within the ecosystem, Diana. And our role is, call it almost the empire, right? We try to make sure that we give and disseminate information to all the different parties within this ecosystem to manage their information. And as I close on this one, Diana, I always say, especially in this festive season, be vigilant, right? No, nothing is too good to be true, right? No one is there to give you money for free. No one, right? If it sounds too good to be true, then double check it. Never sign up for something that you're not sure about. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I really like your closing remarks. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And a lot of people fall prey to this, especially people who are not very conversant, with cybersecurity or online platforms. Yeah, this is something that really needs to be talked about. Sadra, I hope you can hear and see us. I can see you're back online. Thank you for joining us. Sadra is here as a GetSafe Online Rwanda digital ambassador. So GetSafe Online Rwanda, in addition to a fully translated website in Kinyarwanda that offers advice on anything and everything on online safety, it also engages in utilizing young people to be ambassadors, digital ambassadors, and spread online safety messages across the country. Sandra, you've been a digital ambassador since 2020, if I'm not mistaken. If you could just share with us more about what you do. I know you also are, you don't only do Get Safe Online, you wear other hats. If you could just share that. And then if you could also share with us, from the work that you do, how you work to share online safety in terms of ransomware and phishing to the people, the citizens in Rwanda that you work with. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Okay, great. So again, my name is Sadra. I'm ambassador of Get Safe Online. We've been doing awareness since 2020 to 2020, but because we've been thinking about we can have many resources, we can have many technologies, devices, but if we don't train people, we do nothing. We do nothing because you can go through one user, you can go through one just credential that is leaked, then destroy the entire system. So we had an idea of just training different people, different communities in Rwanda, especially in Rwanda, because we are Rwandans, and we do this through different medias. Sometimes we use the radios so that we can reach out to many people, especially local communities. We do this in Kenya, Rwanda, so that we can just make sure that everyone is aware of this, because we found that many people they don't understand what's going on. They receive many phishing, smashing attacks, but they don't know how to react. They don't know what to do. But the more we go, we do many awareness. We receive many questions from communities, because we see that it's a matter of just training them. They are willing just to learn, but they don't have necessary information about what's going on. So I think that's the main action we did. We reached out to high schools when they were targeting young people. Young people are the future for this generation. They are online every time. They are using different social medias. They are exposed to different scams. So it's a good target for us just to target them, so that they can be aware of what they can face when they are using internet, so that we can have a future of young people who are just trained to be safe. So, and another benefit, just to start with young people, is that whenever these young people are aware of this, they can also train their families. It will be easier for us just to target their families through these young people, and it is just an advantage for our country, because we have many young people here. 70% of our population are young. So when we do this, we are doing so many calculations so that we can reach out to many people at a time. And we're seeing just different feedback from these people. It's a good one. It's a good one, because some, they are like, can we find this information? But on Get Safe Online, we have local contents. We have where they can find this information, and we are trying to do our best just to make sure that everyone can know more about how he can be safe online. Thank you. That's what we've been doing.
Thank you very much, Sandra. I believe Get Safe Online Rwanda has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, around 15 ambassadors now and counting. So really the work that you're doing is really great in terms of promoting awareness on online safety. So we've come to the part of questions. We have 20 minutes between questions and closing remarks. And I'll kick off with my first question. Matthew, Ghislaine, Samuel, Sandra, just listening to you, if you can make it a bit more, I don't know, personal, because to the ordinary person, ransomware, phishing, it sounds so technical. Yes, it's really tech jargon, and it will probably go over most people's heads, especially when it comes to the sort of campaigns Get Safe Online does. There's more resonance with campaigns on, let's say, online respect or that sort of thing. That's people-centered. But to people-centered, really, what is the impact, in your experience, some of the worst scenarios of ransomware and phishing, when the impact on someone's life and livelihood that you've seen, so people can take it a bit seriously? What are some examples in your experience where someone is a victim of ransomware, or someone is a victim of phishing, and how it's destroyed or changed their lives for the negative? I don't know if you can share some examples. I'll start with you, Samuel.
Thank you, Dana. So where I've seen this really impacting and affecting ordinary people is in South Africa, identity theft, right? And we're starting to see it even here in Rwanda. I was looking at some of the stats around account takeovers, identity theft in the marketplace. It's not yet at that level where it's ripe, but I think identity theft is where I've seen someone's life really been impacted. And I'm going to just try and break it down in the most quickest possible way, right? When Matthew spoke about motive is money. I need to take money. This is the fraudster, right? The consumer or the customer or the individual who's impacted has got two emotional layers. Number one, either they're trying to protect the little money they have, or they're trying to get money, right? Or they're hoping they could get money, or they're hoping they could make some form of money. Now, fraudsters work on those emotional, psychological, elements, right? That's how, number one, they do it. So when they take over your identity, they go and create a whole new profile for you in institutions, right? Where you could wake up tomorrow, Diana, you owe Equity Bank, you owe BK, you owe, God knows, 4 or 5 financial institutions. It's fortunate that in Rwanda, where we are, banks are not yet at that level of sophistication where you could have more than 5 online applications done and you get loans disbursed to your account in the next hour. In other markets, it is at that level. I get over your personal details. I create a payslip. I create dummy accounts from like a company profile. I can take over your whole life. You wake up tomorrow, you owe the world, right? And for you to clear that, it's a mammoth task, right? So why we're starting to talk about it, and I'm glad what Sadra is doing is very important, because Rwanda is really, projecting itself in a more digital economy, right? We are really going into that space where we're becoming a digital economy. And these are things that we now need to start creating as a layer of protection for what could potentially happen in the future. Because fraudsters work in syndicates. If this is working in South Africa, in Botswana, in Namibia, where economies had really been mature, and banks in Rwanda, in East Africa, are now moving towards that level of maturity, and they can disburse loans on the go, you can be rest assured that account takeovers, identity theft, are very much on the horizon. So individuals' lives have been thoroughly impacted by, having to wake up tomorrow, your whole life has been taken over by people you don't even know. And now you have to go through the whole process of going to the police, to the courts, to try and clear your name. The bank, they don't know, because the bank is saying, well, we got everything in as far as your ID is concerned, and we've disbursed a loan, you need to pay it up. So it becomes a whole new process for you to clear your name, and it's not an easy process. And I've seen people's lives destroyed. People have committed suicide. I'm sorry to say this on this call, but that's how bad this goes, right? That when people's lives are taken over to that level, they don't have hope. They become hopeless. But whilst we're starting to talk about it now, I believe with what Sadra is doing and all of us are trying to do in the ecosystem is to mitigate and reduce that potential risk downstream, where ordinary citizens and ordinary customers can wake up tomorrow and their information is taken over by some very bad people.
Well, thank you, Samuel, for putting it so succinctly. It is yeah, it's something that cannot be overstated. It's so important to understand how to protect yourself from these fraudulent practices, and it keeps on getting more and more sophisticated over time, as you're saying. Ghislaine, is there something you'd like to add to what Samuel said, especially in Rwanda, some of the worst case scenarios you've seen or heard of?
Thank you. I think, like Sam just mentioned, it also depends. It also depends on the digitalization process or level of a country or a sector. So one of the things that we've seen, especially for the vast usage of mobile money solutions, or mobile money, like money transfer enabled by the mobile money technology. I think the worst case scenario is that people get duped or misled into giving out their money, and they find out late that someone who was pretending to be someone they know, or who was pretending to be someone who really needs their help, was actually a bad actor, a criminal. So I think most of the things that we've seen through our collaboration with the law enforcement and the telcos and the financial institutions is where people get duped into sharing or sending their money because someone through the smishing or phishing that is done through SMS or through calling someone asking for help. Sometimes they don't even give you time to like think over what they've just told you for you to make a decision. They usually put you like on pressure to answer them or to reply to their request. So those are some of the cases that we see, but also like Sam was also mentioning, it depends on how far people have adopted the use of technology, and how aware are they of the risk that may come as they use the technology. So we've seen other cases where some people fall victim to like fake scholarships opportunities, fake jobs opportunities, where they promise them like or even like I don't know, lottery things where people promise you like money or job or opportunity to go to like very good schools, but in order for you to do that or to have access to that, they request you some personal information or even some money before they give you that opportunity, yet it was a free opportunity. And then that data, like Sam was mentioning, I think also Matthew mentioned it at some point, where they end up getting that information they've gotten from you to create those as other fake accounts that relate to you in order to commit other crimes. So those are the things that we've seen so far, but also still on the issue of being misled to give out money to or your personal information, even from institutions where in order to like process payments that they have with other like third parties, a bad actor may come into the scenario and provide like fake payment details, and for a person who's not aware of those risks, they may fall victim to that, and you find that an institution may fall victim to that and send out like money to like a criminal. So those are some of the things that we've seen so far. But on ransomware, I think here what we always encourage institutions is that they put in place security measures to prevent falling victim to ransomware. If it's the antivirus that we're talking about, to install antivirus, to prevent or to educate people to not use like flash disk or USB drives that you found somewhere like abandoned, and you check that that you can use it before you add it to the, or use it with your company's device. Make sure that there are some certain measures that you've taken care of, because it can compromise the whole institution. We've seen cases in other countries where like a hospital or even like a petrol station, they are victim to ransomware. And ransomware is like encrypts or blocks your systems that you use, and it prevents you from doing your business or your operation or performing all your activities the way you normally do it. So, and in order for you to access your information back, you have to pay ransom. So as NCSA, we urge institutions not to pay that ransom, because you're not even sure that the cyber criminal will even give you access back to the data that they took hostage of, or the systems. So especially for ransomware, for institutions that heavily rely on IT systems to operate, we encourage them to like be careful, but also have backup. I think someone mentioned the need of having backups of your data, your system, like, so that in case you fall victim to a ransomware, because a ransomware is very like risky to people's health or to people's safety, because once like a hospital, the systems or the devices in the hospital do not operate like they have to operate, then someone may lose their life, or they may have like serious complications. So I think that's what I wanted to echo, is that like someone said, people have to be vigilant, like think twice before they click on any link or give out information to someone who pretends they know them. So they have to really be careful. Thanks.
Thank you. Matthew, is there something you wanted to add to this before we take just a few questions from our attendees?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, I've learned something new from everybody here, and it's really fascinating to hear the other work that everybody is doing in order to make people safe, and it really is great. I wanted to go back to something that Elena mentioned earlier, and then going on from what you were talking about, Dinah, or asking us rather, about have you heard recent cases of where we've seen this in action. And Elaine mentioned about impersonation from actually within an organization. Now, that is something I have seen certainly this year, where people have asked, I've got this email from pretending to be the CEO or the MD or accounts asking, and there'll be something, a very simple question, and there'll be something like, hey, can you help me with something, or have you got some time? And so they seem quite innocent questions, and you think to yourself, oh, okay, well, he or she is obviously busy, they've asked him for my help, and you would go, but actually, if you look at the email, even though it's got their name, it's actually a completely different email address. So when you receive something like that coming out of the blue, okay, well, the CEO wants my help with something, I'm honored, but is this actually legitimate? And you've got to look at, is that how the CEO would talk? Would they actually come to me like in that fashion? Look at the email address. Is that from within the organization? So that is something that I've certainly seen personally more and more. When it comes to ransomware, sadly, we've heard stories certainly from smaller businesses that ransomware has destroyed the company, in terms of they can't get their data, they either can't afford the fee they're asking from ransomware, they've been advised not to pay the ransomware, they haven't got any backups. What's the solution? And sadly, we've seen it's rare, but we have seen situations where small businesses have unfortunately succumbed to the fact that they won't get their data back, they can't operate their business, so they have to wrap the business up. thankfully, as time has gone on, we've become a lot more aware of ransomware, malware, the things that we can do to better protect ourselves, certainly from a business point of view. And business starting to put policies in place, have backups in place. Backups is to protect yourself from ransomware. Backups is essential, and I would say backups essential in any situation, not just from ransomware, but just protect your business in general. But thankfully, we're all becoming a lot more aware of the attacks that are more common. They're becoming a lot more sophisticated. As I said earlier about AI is being used by malicious parties to make scams more efficient. So even though technology is becoming more sophisticated for us to become more productive, to make financial transactions easier, to communicate with each other easier, it's also become very sophisticated for the bad actors, and they are using those tools in order to accelerate their attack. So what can we do? We can. That's why GetSafe. First of all, that's why GetSafe Online exists. We provide that factual, non-biased, easy to understand advice. There's getsafeonline.org.rw for Rwanda, and we enjoy helping people get safe online. We can see the benefits of the internet. The internet has made us more connected. It's made it's made e-commerce easier, it's made shopping easier, it's made communication with family, friends across the world easier. There's lots of benefits with the modern day version of the internet, and that's great. But because we're spending more and more of our lives online, that means that criminals are spending more and more of their lives online. But there are things that we can do to protect ourselves from. We've learned how to protect ourselves from criminals in the real world. I'll call it the real world as opposed to the internet. But now we're starting to understand how we can protect ourselves online, because we can see all the benefits of being online. We just need to make sure we protect ourselves. That's why we exist. And Sadra, the work the ambassadors they do, it's so valuable. And everybody here, I think we've all got a valuable input into making sure people stay safe online, and it's great that we have these conversations, because we can all learn from each other, and in turn we can pass that information on to, as Sam was saying, it's the citizens that suffer. They're the target. They're the ones that suffer, and we don't want. It boils our blood to see people suffer like that, because online should be for good, and we can all do our bit to make sure we look out for each other online. So thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone. I have a couple of questions that have come in from our attendees. So the first is from Kellen, who says, thank you so much for the information. It's quite helpful. My question is more about prevention. Are there specific behaviors or practices that one does that increase the risk of ransomware or phishing attacks? And the second is from Fiona, who says, how frequently should someone update their passwords to enhance security? Over to you. Who wants to take? Matthew, do you want to start with a response?
Passwords, I can answer that one. Simply because in the UK we do a thing called Cyber Essentials. We talk about passwords a lot, and we learned passwords earlier. So to be honest with you, I would, as long as you've got a strong password, if you've got a strong password policy, so you're using 2 or 3 random words, you're using a special character, a number, you shouldn't have to update your passwords too often. But what I would say is I would update your password if you feel that your user account has been compromised. So if you think somebody has accessed I've seen a case where somebody's reached out to me on social media and said, oh, hi, Matt. And it didn't seem like them. And I've said, so I've contacted them with the mobile and said, I think your account's been compromised. Okay, thanks for letting me know. That is definitely a time where you should change your password. If you feel that your user account's been compromised in any shape or form, that's when I would change your password. Some people change their password maybe once or twice every year, even if it's just to change the data, because the last thing you want to do is forget your password. And because we're asking for more complex passwords, to keep on changing your password, it becomes easy to forget the password. So I would say that as long as you've got a strong password, if the service that you've got your user account with offers what's called MFA, we spoke about it earlier, multi-factor authentication, definitely step that up, even if it is just by using SMS. So you can use multi-factor authentication, you sign in, and it gives you a text to say, please put this code in the website. Okay, that's fine. Or use an authenticator app. I would definitely, if a service uses MFA, and a lot of social media sites do that, just as an example, make sure you've got MFA enabled. But yeah, great question.
Do you want to answer the question? Maybe I'll ask this to you, Samuel. Behaviors or practices that increase people's risk of ransomware phishing attacks.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. So I think just to explain, there are actually three terminologies in this space, right? So phishing is the one that's predominantly used, which is more email driven, where they mimic everything about the email and they try to get you to click a link. Smishing, which is another new one now that has come on, is the SMS one, where they pop an SMS to you. And phishing is the voice, where they call you, pretend to be like from a specific entity and try to gather some information. Look, the reality is these guys do what we call the fisherman approach. They throw a net, right? They don't have a specific way of saying we're targeting Diana because we've seen Diana. She spends her time in the cafe at Kigali Heights. No, they throw a fishing net and they look for vulnerabilities, right? So vulnerabilities is you trying to respond to the net, right? And that's how they then tend to start getting information from you or tend to get access into your information. Hence, if most of what has been spoken on the call is to go by is, number one, just double check what is this information you're being requested of all about, right? Can you validate it? Can you authenticate it before you share any information out? Threat attackers, they don't know. Otherwise, they'll be playing God, right? They don't know. They use a very much phishing approach. That's why we call it phishing, right? They use a net. They just try to look for vulnerabilities. And if you're the one that tends to be vulnerable in the process where you respond, then they've got an opening, right? Where you respond, then they've got a door, and then they use that to the best of their ability. And usually what they tend to do, which is what I've seen in most instances, they are very pushy, very edgy, like what Matthew said. They tend to drive you to get to the point of just breaking. Just submit. Just you're running out of time. You need to click this. Your computer will be locked, or this campaign is going to run out. You need to sign up before end of 30 minutes, or whatever the case might be, because now they're working on the vulnerability aspect of you responding to their mass approach, right? So the best response I can give to this question is, no one will give you money for free. That is rule number one in life. No one is out there to give anybody money for free, right? So if there's a campaign that promises you some form of money out there, by all means, double check it, check with authorities, even if it means you go and ask at a bank, walk in and say, are you guys running this campaign? Rather be safe than sorry. That's number one. Number two, never be put under pressure to submit your information to anybody, not even at your organization. Rather, if you can have to go and pick a call and phone somebody and ask them, are we running a campaign where you're asking us to update our passwords? Rather do that. I would rather be the slow person in the office and check everything than be the fastest person and expose myself and the whole organization in that process. So that's where the element of vigilance comes into play, right? Be alert, double check everything, make sure that you have looked into all possible scenarios. If you have to, double check before you share, before you click, before you respond, before you send anything to anybody. Because at the end of the day, these people are brutal, Diana. They don't care. They will not feel sorry for you at the point of you sending that information after you've clicked that link. So please, to tell the listeners, never take anything for granted. Never give out information without properly checking it. And like what Matthew said, update your password as much and as frequent as you can. Not use basic ones, which he has spoken about. Clear your browser as often as you can. Sometimes when you're using your home network, especially for some of us who work from home and at the office, just clear your browser history. Make sure that you've got strong password for both your home network and your office network, so that they don't also, they look for vulnerabilities. Like I'm saying, they don't know, so they just always try to ping pong on different IP addresses, see who they can get to, and use that as an entry to taking information from people. So that's how I would approach this. I hope I've answered that question properly.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Yeah, it's quite sobering. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's quite sobering, what you're saying. And, I wish this webinar could go on and we could have it, every 2-3 weeks, but unfortunately we have to come to the end. But there's just one last question. And this question is from Iris, who says, I find this webinar very helpful. I was wondering if you could recommend any reliable sources for someone looking to enhance their cybersecurity knowledge. So I guess you'd start with Get Safe Online, Rwanda. Visit www.getsafeonline.org.rw. But Ghislaine and Sadra, are there some reliable sources you'd like to share with Iris?
Thank you. I think, I think one of the reliable sources I can recommend is to participate in cybersecurity related webinars such as these ones, because you get to hear from different experts or professionals in the field on what are the latest trends in cybersecurity, and then from there you can proceed to do other research. I think also one other source of information, of knowledge, also you can check the National Cybersecurity Authority websites, which is cyber.gov.rw, and also check out the different social media platforms that National Cybersecurity Authority uses. We usually put out different educational materials with different references for you to check, and also the different partners that we work with that can also provide additional educational content. Another source is the Get Safe Online, that's the website that they've developed in English or Kinyarwanda. I think those are some of the fast sources you can find, but also if you go on the major search engines and look for like free cybersecurity tools, free cybersecurity training programs that are available, you can definitely find that one that may be relevant to you and help you to be cyber aware. Yeah, thanks. I think
Thank you very much, Sadra. Can you hear me? Okay. Sadra, is there, just as we close, just advice you'd give some of our attendees?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Many platform you can reach out is Get Safe Online, Rwanda, and NSSA. But I want to add one thing. We have also a platform which is named Netvela. We also do awareness campaigns in different institutions. But I would like to add one thing. If you have consistency in these things we've been talking about, you go, because sometimes we think that we can do this and can do this, but if we don't have consistency, we are so exposed to those attacks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. To our attendees who joined, thank you so much. It's really been great listening to our panelists as well, answering your questions. To our panelists, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to take part in today's webinar on behalf of Get Safe Online Rwanda on how to best protect yourself against ransomware and phishing. And yeah, it's we like, usually have these on Fridays, so we can wish you all a great weekend, but most importantly, a great festive season. So Matthew, Ghislaine, Samuel, and Sadra, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, and have a great festive season. Thank you.